Everyone knows that a pilot's job includes flying planes, but what I'm often asked is, what is a pilot's work schedule really like? I'm going to explain it all. Coming up. Hey 7-4 crew, welcome back. If you don't know me, my name's Kelsey. I'm a 747 pilot. My channel, 7-4 Gear, is all about aviation. So whether you're a pilot or an aviation enthusiast, consider subscribing. Every pilot's work schedule is different, and they vary greatly depending on whether you're flying for the airlines or a charter, and inside each of those, the schedules can also be very different. In this video, I'm going to give you a couple quick examples. Let's get into it. First, I'm going to talk about corporate and charter flying. Early in my career, a couple years after this picture was taken, I was flying for a couple different charter airlines. At most corporate and charter jobs, a pilot's schedule is usually based on a 7 and 7. And what that means is they'll work 7 days on and 7 days off. In some cases, I've heard of guys having a 14 and 14. Again, based on the 7 and 7, it's 14 days on and 14 days off. That is the most common schedule that I hear from pilots who are still flying charters. Another example of a pilot's work schedule is if you're flying for a family or an individual and you are part of a 2 or 4-man crew that flies whenever they want to go, wherever they want to go. The cool side about doing that type of flying is you could be hanging out at home on Tuesday and you get a call and say, hey, in 2 days we're going down to the Maldives. So the next 5 days you might be hanging out in the Maldives at a hotel like this, which of course is a lot better than the 4-day Xbox marathon you had planned with your couch.
You don't even know me.
And just like every other pilot job, with the positives are negatives. If your boss has an economic issue or your boss dies, you're probably going to be out on the street. Or if you had something planned that you wanted to do with your friends and family, those plans are going to be canceled.
No, that doesn't work. No, don't ruin it.
For an airline pilot job, the schedules also have a wide variety. And I'm often asked, on average, how many days a month does a pilot work? And I would say the average monthly is about 15 to 16 days. Now, how those days get broken up is going to vary depending on the airline that you're at. But the most common is usually you're going to do a 3 or 4 day trip and then have 3 or 4 days off after that trip. That's the most common. However, just like every other airline, there's a variety. In the US, we have an airline called Allegiant, and Allegiant does out and backs. They do day trips. So a lot of their pilots are home every night. So if you have a family or you don't want to spend time on the road or sleeping in hotels, then that's a good fit for you if you live in one of their bases. Because if you don't live one of their bases, when you finish your trip, you're going to come back to your hotel and you're going to have to be paying for the hotel. On the opposite side of that spectrum is my schedule. I like to clump all my days together. So I'll usually do 10 or 16 days in a row. Now the reason I prefer that is I'd rather just get all my work done early in the month or whenever in the month, and then I have the rest of my time to hang out and do whatever I want, or I can go somewhere and not use my vacation days. But because of that, I'm usually hauling 3 bags around the world. 2 bags is the most common, but I have a 3rd bag to carry all my computers and cameras and stuff for making these YouTube videos. Now speaking of me traveling around the world, if you want to see kind of a behind the scenes of what I'm doing and where I'm going, just go to my Instagram account. It's the same as my YouTube channel, at 7-4 Gear. And I have a lot of different stories of when I'm going places. And often I ask the people that are on there, hey, should I do this or would you like to see this? So for example, I asked them if they wanted to see some bloopers and outtakes. So for the Flight of the Phoenix and some of the later videos, I started putting bloopers and outtakes at the end of these videos. But not everybody knew about that, so a lot of people never saw them. Now the final thing to consider when you're thinking about an airline pilot's schedule is, where do you live? If you don't live in base, a lot of times when you finish your trip, you're gonna have to get home. And that means if you're doing 3 or 4 4-day pairings in a month, 3 or 4 times a month, you're gonna have to figure out how to get to work and how to get home from work. And if you're not driving distance, that means you're gonna have to jump seat or catch a flight, which can be very time consuming. Now I've lived in base and I've lived out of base and I've had to do the commuting, and when I first thought about having to do the commuting, I was like, hey, this isn't gonna be that bad, I can get on a flight. And then after about 2 months, I was like,
this idea fucking sucked.
Finding the right long-term pilot job that fits and the right pilot schedule is gonna be different for everyone. For me, when I finish a trip, I'm able to walk back onto the plane, get on one of our flights and go somewhere cool that I've always wanted to go, or somewhere where I've been and I want to spend more time, and then I'll just Airbnb there for a week or maybe 2 weeks, Then I'll catch one of our flights back to my base and start my trip again. Obviously, if you have a wife and family and kids and people that are relying on you to be home, that doesn't work, but for me, it's just fine. All right, crew, that's everything I have to give you a better understanding of what the pilot job is all about. In the comment section below, let me know what pilot schedule would work out best for you. I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep the blue side up. In this video, I'm going to give you a couple of quick questions. Couple of quick questions? All right, crew, that's everything I have to give you on a better idea of what the... I'm going to spit all over myself.